I'm going to just wait a couple more minutes because I know there was a lot of interest in this. And while we wait, I just want to encourage everyone. I'm not sure how long me going through the slides is going to take, but there's a lot of expertise in this room. And I don't necessarily consider myself to be an expert at creating posters. Mine tend to be a little wordy. So I'll go through the slides, but then I really would appreciate everybody else's tips and tricks. And actually, I tried to build in some time for discussion along the way too. So if you have something to share, please do share it. I'm not great at minding the slides and the chat at the same time, but this is casual. So please just speak up or raise a hand and I'll try to accommodate everybody. Excellent. We've got Chris, wonderful staff person. We've got students. We've got faculty. I'll give a quick update. Yeah, why don't I start with an update on our WIN acceptances, which I bring that up and tell you. It's pretty exciting. Just pull that Excel sheet up while people gather here. We have 12 people that submitted abstracts for our research and information exchange. So that's a full slate that we're taking advantage of, which is fantastic. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. About 25 for the peer-reviewed sessions. And I'll say 25 presenting authors, and many of those presentations encompass a number of people. So we are going to make quite a splash at our Western Institute of Nursing conference, and that's going to be in Spokane, which I'm really excited about, and I get to see a bunch of colleagues too. So fantastic. Well, let me go ahead and get started. And so I will share my screen. It always takes a second, so bear with me. All right, can I get a thumbs up? I see Jose. So Jose, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen, ideally without the notes, but there's not a lot of notes here. So does it look right?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. So welcome everybody. This is the spring semester first offering for the Disseminating Your Scholarship series, and I thought I'd focus on creating scholarly posters. And if you just joined us, please know that your contributions are welcome. We have a lot of talent in this room. So I want to make sure people share their tips and tricks with each other as well. So this is my goals for today are to identify key elements to creating a scholarly poster, help familiarize people with some of our poster templates, locate stock images because a picture is worth 1,000 words, and then learn how to create a QR code. So first, let's just open it up to a little discussion. What is unique about disseminating your work as a poster versus, for example, a publication or even a podium presentation? And just give a shout out. No need to raise hands and whatnot.
This is Jenny speaking, and I will comment because I just did this for the very first time last week.
Oh,
and what I noticed about it was that I met a lot of people that way. So I was able to have a lot of one-on-one conversations with folks doing similar or different kinds of work in other places.
Yeah, so very important. This is a more social experience than standing in front of a podium and presenting work. Are there any other differences we want to point out?
Gotta be a little bit more catching and a little more brief than full write-ups and
Yeah, Yeah, so I think catching, engaging, more image-based, perhaps you're trying to capture an audience that's more or less strolling by. I mean, some people are more targeted in you know, circling the ones they want to find and everything, but oftentimes we just kind of walk around and if it captures our interest, we go and talk to the person presenting. So again, more interaction, it's a social experience, it's an exchange, more so than I think what happens a lot with podium presentations, and it's a great opportunity for networking. Okay, second question, what makes a poster engaging in your experience?
This is Angie. Couple of notes. One, we do see your speaker notes if you care,
Okay.
but not that it matters. And I think one thing that you kind of touched on is it is something that's gotten easier for me with time, but it's hard not to be too wordy. It's like you want to share everything, but if you do that, it can be overwhelming, and you can watch people walk down the aisles, and the ones that are text heavy, I think people kind of often keep on walking because it just looks too overwhelming. So
Yeah,
concise kind of bullet point information and aesthetically appealing with colors and, you know, the formatting of the images.
I would agree. I would agree. Did I fix my notes?
You sure did. Looks good.
All right, thanks. Always learning. All right, so I found this online, and this scholar, Colin Purrington, offered it as an example of a not so good poster. So another opportunity with an example to let's just take a minute and analyze this. What would prevent you from engaging and even trying to digest or absorb the information in this poster? What are some things you don't like about it?
There's so much dialogue that it makes it challenging to read through it when there's so many posters you want to look at.
Yeah, what else?
It's so busy, and the font isn't really much different than the size of the stars. So it also is so busy.
Great, thanks, Juliet.
There's no actual focus point either. It's just all everywhere.
Yeah.
Everything's a
That
little
sounds
out of
like
focus.
someone who knows graphic design, even in terms of saying focus point. That's good. I'm sorry, I cut someone else off. What else?
Oh, I was just going to say it's out of focus too. It's just slightly off with the graphics.
Yeah, thanks, Yolanda. So these are all the reasons that the author, who again was, you know, sharing his bad work on purpose to illustrate some problems. And I just highlighted a couple of the main ones that I figured you all would pick up on. So way too much text. I appreciated that he said that the background image is distracting in terms of the stars. There's not a lot of contrast between the text and the background. There's definitely not enough white space. What
I
else? The
would title
alignment.
that poster In a Galaxy Far, Far Away.
Yes. Yeah. And results are presented in sentences versus visually, and there weren't a lot of bullet points, as Angie said, that can help us absorb content. So thanks for interacting with me around that one. So I wanted to start with some tips on content and then move to formatting and then show a couple of examples. So in terms of content, starting with the title, and I know these abstracts are already accepted, but it's always just good to think about having a clear and concise title. A title should capture the essence of the research or the project while being catchy enough to draw attention. And some of this I pulled from the WIN Conference Abstract Guide, and some I should say are from a WSU library guide on creating effective scholarly posters. So another comment on one of those resources was that the reviewer should know from the title what to expect from the rest of the abstract without surprises or unfulfilled expectations. These in the red text are some examples of titles from abstracts that were accepted to WIN this year from our students and faculty. So what are some things that make these, what are some elements that make these good titles? Why do you think they were accepted?
They're short and concise.
Good. What else?
It gives enough detail that you know, it gives some hints that you know what you're going to learn about.
Yeah, so this is important too, because some people do go through the WIN conference guide and, identify posters that they're targeting. So yeah, there's some specificity here. We see with some that outcomes are identified, feasibility, satisfaction. We see that populations of interest are identified, such as, grad nursing students or adolescents as a research population. And then methods can sometimes be ascertained. I don't like titles that are fully about methods because we kind of want the title to reflect the focus of the research question or the project, but I can appreciate that, that 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth one down, perspectives of rural Spanish and English speaking families affected by alcohol use. That's giving us a flavor of what kind of research was conducted. Great. So then on the poster, of course, you're going to have that title. Our template has a location of naturally for the title. And then below that, we generally put the authors and affiliations for the authors. So you want to include the name, degrees earned, and certifications of the author. I don't think, and I'd be interested in other faculty feedback on this, that you necessarily, like a student would need to put the program that they're in. I would personally save some of that information, for example, for maybe something with a QR code in your contact information. But at the very least, name, degrees earned, certifications, and then affiliations. And so if you have affiliations, you don't want to repeat the affiliations. You want to use superscript to identify like a couple people from the same organization. So sorry, I've got to move you all to see my slide here. So this was a poster as an example by Molly Parker, one of our former PhD students. It was called Supporting Agricultural Workers During Smoke and Heat. Both Molly and myself are affiliated with the WSU College of Nursing. And then our community agency partner was Mary Joey Barra Vega, and she's from the Quincy Community Health Center. So that just keeps it cleaner versus saying, WSU College of Nursing 3 times. You want to save space. In terms of content, just a brief overview. Where to start? Start with the abstract that you've already submitted, not in terms of putting the whole thing in one text box like our star poster, but you've already identified some key elements. So I usually start there and align that with the headings that you've already identified, specific to the WIN conference, if that's the one you're submitting to or presenting at. So of course, the introduction and background provides context for the work, including the main research question or hypotheses and a purpose statement. Methodology is likely, briefer than your full description that you'd have in a paper, something like that. And ideally, you'd use bullet points in that section. And I'm going to go a little bit more in depth in a second, but results, ideally you would have visual representations, not just a bunch of words. This is probably your best spot to have some sort of graph or chart or table, and then discussion or conclusion where you're interpreting those results. Let me get a little bit more specific, where some people submitted under the project abstract and some under the research abstract. Those subheadings are a little bit different, but principles are the same. So again, I would keep those subheadings, carry that through to the poster, and use what I call kind of STEM statements. So, for a purpose statement, start. The purpose of this project is. There is no shame in just laying that out saying it very clearly. Nobody wants to search for that. An audience is expecting to see that very clear purpose statement. For background, you just do not have enough room on a poster to really delve into the background. So you want to be as brief and as specific as possible. But I would say if there's a concept that your audience might not be familiar with, you do want to include a definition. So I don't know if Mike Coriasco's on the call, but he's a PhD student. Looking through here. He's a PhD student who is studying memes. Now, for some audiences, younger people, they likely know what a meme is. For a nursing research audience, it's not a concept that we typically study. So in his work, he defines that very early on, and that's really important. You see here. What else? Methods. You want to make sure that the methods produce the answers that you report in the results section. So that should be in a very clean alignment. If you submit a poster abstract of research still in process, you do still need to explain your methods. And this is an opportunity to identify your variables, how you measure your variables, your population, how you recruited them or worked with them, depending on the project, and then how you did your analysis. Not the results of your analysis, but for example, how did you measure a change in whatever you're studying? Results are pretty straightforward, and I think that's the most important thing to remember about results is that you don't want to layer on your interpretation of the results in the results. You save that interpretation for the discussion or conclusion section. So what's an example? So it is surprising that so many people responded in this way would be inappropriate for the results, although tempting many times. You just want the result and then you save those qualifiers for the implication, conclusion, discussion section. If you have a poster with results still in progress, you could report interim findings. You could say expected outcomes include X, Y, and Z, but you want to make it clear that things are still in progress. And I know for posters, things can be in progress. And then for conclusions and implications, those need to be as specific as possible and relate to your findings. And for this audience, you might want to ask yourself, what about my work is important for nursing? Because that's the conference that we are at. Try to connect your topic with your particular audience that you are presenting to. And again, I think it's fine to use the stem of this is important because, and that just kind of gets you flowing in terms of what you're thinking. But try to avoid really general statements like more research is needed. If you say more research is needed, because more research is it's frequently needed, try to get specific about what would be the next step in that research or for that agency, if it's quality improvement, what might that next cycle look like? Let me see if I had anything more there. Oh, I guess just one more thing. Oftentimes for projects, your implications would emphasize next steps for organizational policy or clinical practice. And then for research, you might talk about the implications for policy, clinical or educational practice, and recommendations for future research. Okay, you don't want to take too much room in a poster for references, acknowledgements, and your contact information. So this is a great time to add a QR code, and that helps you, save space, and you can, easily provide a link to these elements from a QR code. References, just try to be, again, concise. You don't have to include, 2 pages of references, just kind of maybe some key elements, APA format or some sort of standardized format. Acknowledgements is a great time to recognize contributions from others, such as funding bodies or people that contributed to the work but don't rise to the level of being a co-author. I use that a lot. And then your contact information. I'm gonna shift now to talk a little bit more about formatting. The WIN conference has a maximum size for posters at 48 by 48 inches, so 4 by 4 feet. And the templates that I'm providing are 48 by 36. And the templates have a lot of the principles that I'm going to talk about kind of built into the template. Thank goodness for those of us that are not designers. Of course, you want this to have visual appeal. It's kind of like everything that that space poster doesn't have. Clear visual hierarchies in terms of fonts, things aligned in the same, like consistently. Text needs to be legible from 3 to 5 feet away. Ideally, use bullet points in areas that you can use bullet points, and then balance in terms of white space and content. I said this, our poster is 48 by 36. I included 2 options for layout because we want to present ourselves in a pretty crisp manner. Brad shared with us a couple options. You can edit those within the template, and then you save those as a PowerPoint file, and then you'll save it as a PDF file for printing. So I can't interact with these in this PowerPoint, but this is the first template, and you'll see that we got this main finding, which has kind of evolved over time, that you would have a main finding section. But I really like this because, just as you all mentioned, a poster presentation is pretty social in nature. So this can really draw people in without having to read every single thing. It's like, what's the implication? What's the take-home message? What are you trying to share? And then there are these 6 boxes that you can either use text, you can upload a picture, you can upload a graph, different opportunities there. And this is the second version of that. You can also see that the WSU nursing logo is on there, and the colors conform to all the university requirements. The subheadings, you know, that font is larger than what will come up when you're in the boxes, so you don't have to worry about that, you know, kind of the hierarchy there. In terms of images, I love to say a picture is worth 1,000 words because that is so true. Try to use graphs or charts or tables or photos to not only summarize and present data, but also, again, to bring people in. Nursing is, you know, very population based, so it's always nice to have not a blurry picture like I clearly pulled just a minute ago, but a picture of the people that, you know, are going to be impacted by the project or the work. Not your subjects unless you have permission to use their pictures, but, you know, exemplars of people that you can find online where you don't have any ethical issues around using photos of people. So we can actually use Adobe, which I must have in the next folder, slide. So you want to use high resolution images to make sure they're not blurry. I don't know a lot about this color mode, but that's the best color mode according to Brad Schwartz to use. You want to insert those pictures directly into PowerPoint versus cutting and pasting them for a higher quality. And you can copy and paste Excel charts and graphs into PowerPoint. Oh, here it is. So I know faculty have access to Adobe software, and we should be able to pull pictures that are publicly available with no ethical implications related to their use. For students, if you don't have access, you can search this site and you can send a request to Bradford Schwartz, whose email is here. He's our web designer for the college. And if you give him the asset ID number, he can download the image that you need and send that to you. We would just ask that, you be respectful of his time, kind of prioritize that one or two photos, and then he can get back to you on that. Ethically, of course, if there is research involving humans, any photographs or sensitive information, you need to have a permission to use form. So try to avoid that unless you've already gone through that process. QR codes, I'm sure this is something that people in this group have more expertise with than I. This was Brad's recommendation to use the QR code monkey. I just hopped on that site. You can get, free access for a couple of weeks. You can register or use a Gmail account. He suggested leaving the colors and the logo image as is on their defaults, because otherwise it gets kind of junked up, I'll just say. You download that as a PNG file and then you insert that in your poster. We are recommending this year that people use FedEx for printing. It's very easy. I did this with a student for the Washington State Public Health Association conference. You simply go to their website, you upload your PDF file that you have of your poster, you select these layouts, so horizontal, you select the size, you don't need it mounted on anything. Always a good idea to double check the image, make sure it looks right before you click print, and then you go pick it up at your local FedEx. You'd work with your finance team, so the same person that you're working with in terms of your travel and conference registration. So in Spokane, that's Lisa. Geis. In Vancouver, it's Rosalind. Oh, I think that's right. And they will reimburse you for that. Okay, just a couple of examples from previous student posters, not unfortunately using the particular template that I showed you, but an opportunity to talk a little bit about, again, what you like about this poster and maybe what could be improved, and an opportunity to see the example of kind of the key takeaway. So this was a poster about the Planetary Health Report Card assessment that we did last year. That work was also led by students, Angie and Jennifer and Molly, Tara, Natasha, Amelia, and faculty Sheila Hirsch. So what do you like about this one, and what could be improved about this one?
Maybe another graphic or image, or like breaking up the columns of words.
I agree. Looking back on this after some time away, it is still pretty text heavy. Any other feedback? No right answers. No wrong answers, I meant, or right answers, just feedback.
On first glance, I sort of thought the poster had earned a grade of B.
Yeah.
But it makes sense now.
For what it is,
Mhm.
this rating.
One thing I'm noticing that I like is the background is not stark white.
Good point. Yeah, I think this might have been there's, each of our campuses have templates, and there's a lot of different templates out there. But yeah, I kind of like that too, with the gray. I like the little these guys, these pictures. I appreciate that with the results table. Okay, I have one more. Thoughts about this one?
Hi, this is Bakri. I think based on the template that you gave us, where the main findings are supposed to go on that left or in the middle. So this one, they have it in the middle, which is good. Maybe they captured that, the result section.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I didn't have time to grab one with our current templates. But I like that the results are kind of front and center of this one. References, they're using this QR code. It's a little small, but it is important to note that this one image is courtesy of the United Farm Workers. So that's, attributing where we got that from. Think if there's anything else. I appreciate on this one that they have what they identify WSU nursing, since this template doesn't, because we always want to be loud and proud about who we're representing. Okay, that is the content I have. Very much open to questions, pro tips from other people, and then I wanted to let you know I'm presenting this again in a couple weeks. If people couldn't be here, I can also send out the the slides and the recording. But I do want to give everybody an opportunity on March 7th, same time, to kind of practice a poster synopsis. And I don't know who, Jenny, you said you just presented a poster, right? Did you prepare? Sometimes at poster presentations, not at WIN, but sometimes they'll have everybody do like a 2 or 3 minute synopsis of the poster. Did you have that experience, or was it more
No,
casual?
nope. There was no synopsis or presentation. Some people had 8x11 photocopies of their poster that were sort of pinned to the cork board where near their poster, and I thought that was kind of neat. If I saw one that I wanted to spend more time on, I could just take the copy with me. But no synopsis.
And sometimes, so that's a great idea. I might suggest doing that with the abstract, because the poster is going to get really, really small. So I'm almost 50. Here's the new glasses. So, that's another way. That's another way to do that. I do think it's still good to kind of have an elevator speech about your poster, so that when people do say, "So tell me about your poster," you have that practice. Or maybe it's just dependent on if public speaking or speaking in that way makes you nervous. You might want to just have practiced a little synopsis so you don't go everywhere with that. And people, they do want to engage with multiple people in poster presentations. So you do kind of want to be succinct about, this is what I did, this is what we found. And if you have further questions, here's my contact information, or scan my QR code. I do just want to show you a couple references and resources. I want to note that this library guide on posters has a number of other links to get images, more medically focused or health focused images. That's an option. The OWL Purdue Writing Center that a lot of us use for writing and APA formatting, they have a nice research poster overview. And then a couple of articles, creating effective scholarly posters or creating conference posters, I also found helpful. I'm going to stop sharing so that I can see you. All right, now I am definitely not caught up with the 26 comments in chat, so just bring it. Go ahead, Angie.
Thank you. A couple of questions, and I think someone else mentioned this in the chat too, but curious about the possibility of printing our posters on cloth. It's a lot easier to travel with rather than the tubes, the paper.
I will say I love that idea. Last year, we worked with a local printing company in Spokane. Personally, I did not like the quality of that print job. So ideally, if you can see locally an example of something that they print so that you can determine if it's high quality or not. These, for example, the beauty is that you can fold it and put it in your suitcase or whatever. It's like the edges or the creases like lost some of that ink, and it just didn't look good. So you could ship your poster tubes are like $2.50. So in general, that would be you can, but that would be my recommendation. And then I can't remember if the cost was more. I don't think it was significantly more. So you might want to price it out and just compare too.
And then the other thing, I have a free QR code generator that I've used for years that has worked well. Am I okay to share that link in the chat?
Please, yeah.
Great, thank
And
you.
this one was free, but I'm not sure if it was free for the long haul. So yes, like I said, I didn't have time to get into that as much as I wanted to. So
Thank you.
yeah. And please, if I'd prefer you just ask the question than have me go through chat. So if there's any other pro tips that people have, things that have worked well, or that people have, their audience has been responsive to. Love hearing from you all. Oh, Tri-Cities. Yeah, the contact in Tri-Cities, go ahead and just email me, Shelby, and I can ask Lisa, and Lisa Geist out of Spokane will let me know. I'm sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you.
And I'm not sure if FedEx prints cloth posters. I'm gonna guess not, because again, last year in Spokane, we had to go with a different company. Okay, well, that is all I have. I always encourage people to have somebody else, whether it's a faculty member, a student, colleague, a peer, anyone, your mom, to look at, that's an homage to my mom, to look at the work, before you get it printed. If you can step away from it for a couple days and then come back to it, it just really helps to have some fresh eyes on these sorts of things. That goes with all scholarly work. Another message. Okay, great. So thanks for being here. I will have Wendy send out the recording and the slides. Happy to answer questions online, and I'm always here, so you know where to find me. I work remotely, so you know where to find me. Connect with me, I should say. All right, thank you. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.